light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, sports fans? It's your boy Aaron Yella, and welcome to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I hope you all had a good week. It is episode 25 tonight at Mile High Musings, Trials and Tribulations. That's right. It is time that we ascend, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fan of all ages. It is time we ascend to the top of the peak and breathe in that rarefied mountain air as I bring you sports takes a mile above the rest. On tonight's show, we'll talk about the Avalanche's road trip and how they've been playing with, well, 2.5 lines, as some players continue to be nothing more than, quote, passengers. Segment 2, we'll check in around campuses, including the third-ranked team in the nation, the CU women's basketball team. We'll talk CSU Rams, CU Buffs men's, and UNC Bears. Also, let's get a look at the DU Pios, college hockey. And in segment 3, the Nuggets have just started an intense East Coast road trip. First 2 games of the stretch have felt like playoff games. Tonight didn't, but we'll talk about that in the third segment. And in segment 4, why do I long for baseball in January, February, and March, but I'm totally burnt out by June 1st? Before we get to that, and all that's good, let's handle some business.
For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and all of our show pages with personal bios and the podcast feed for each individual show, including this one, Mile High Musings. Check out the show page at iesportsradio.com/Mile High Musings. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, and so much more. For nearly a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans, and we thank each and every one of you for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, sports fans? It's your boy Aaron Yowell from Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I am super excited to tell you about a new sponsor on the network, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm's Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket beef jerky offers gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. That's my favorite part. This is some of the best beef jerky you can get your hands on. Check them out online, planetjerky.com. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. And we're back on Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Shout outs to Jen and Ralph for being in the chat tonight. Let's kick off tonight's episode of Mile High Musings with segment 1 titled Iron Sharpens Iron. The Avs played 4 games in 6 days this week and played 2 teams in the top 10 in the Eastern Conference. If we go back to last Saturday, the Avs have played 3 teams in the top 10 on this road trip. And it was a Canadian road trip, which last year, that galvanized the Avalanche about the same time of the year. And we took off. We ended up winning the Central. Let's go over the results real quick. And then I want to talk about what these games mean and what we saw from the boys in Burgundy and Blue. this past week. Monday, 4-3 loss at Montreal. Jonathan Drouin was back in Montreal for the first time since coming over in the offseason. There was a nice tribute video, but every time he touched the puck, the fans booed him. I don't know, felt weird. Avalanche took Montreal's best shot in this one, and that's what it took for the Habs to squeak this one out. Colorado got goals from Colton on the power play, Makar and Taves. But the most glaring stat from this game probably was the fact that the Avalanche were 0 for 2 on the penalty kill. One of the best penalty kills, top 10 all year in the league. And they let Montreal, who's, sorry Habs fans, not a great team, score 2. Yeah, they're young and they got some talented pieces, but Avs have a tendency of doing that. It's that whole play with your food mentality that the Ball Arena folks like to do. Montreal seemed more engaged in this one, and I think the Avs were really overlooking the Canadiens. Maybe looking at the second half of this back-to-back, which was on Tuesday. Avs put up a touchdown in Ottawa. Colorado wins 7-4. Senators jumped on the Avs early and often. At one point, Ottawa was up 4-2. And I guess giving up that fourth goal woke the sleeping giant because Colorado rattled off 5 straight, including the empty net goal at the very end, which, sometimes it doesn't even make a rundown, but it does in this show. Excuse me, thank God for the mute button. The Avs got 2 goals from Mikko Rantanen, 1 from Miles Wood, who was returning in this game from illness. It's the first time we'd seen him in a month. Sam Malinsky got a goal. LOC scored. Tays again. And Jason Polin, who scored his first goal on a freaking snipe coming down the right wing. Avs were outshot in this one, but honestly, Justus Annunen was not terrible. He wasn't. He hadn't seen NHL action in a hot minute, and he ended up with a .900 save percentage, which is something that neither Prosvetov or Georgiev can say that they've done in a while. Avs traveled down the road to Boston on Thursday, lost 5-2, and this game seemed all about revenge for Boston because their big dogs ate. Mostly David Pastrnak, who scored a hat trick. Avs were down 3-1. First goal by Miles Wood. 2 goals in 2 games after returning. And I'll tell you, he may not be in game shape, but my God, when he does get in game shape, I can't wait because he looks fast. And I know that we are blessed by Nate the Great, but Miles Wood looked crazy fast all week. All week. And it was really nice to have him back with Ross Colton and LOC on that line. So Wood scores at the end of the first, and then McKinnon cut into the lead in the second, bringing it to 3-2. But Pasta turned up the heat, scoring on the power play late in the third, and then the empty netter to push the final to 5-2. Avs didn't capitalize on either of their power play chances. Georgiev was straight up outplayed, just couldn't make a save when the Avs needed one. It did not help. The defense was getting pinned in the zone or making stupid turnovers that forced Georgia into tough spots. It was really hard. It was really, really hard for Georgiev. But, homie, you have one job. Make a save. Saturday, oh, God, y'all, we had a Saturday matinee game. And if you have listened to my show twice in the last month, you know how bad the Avs are on matinee games and Saturday matinee games in particular. Well, this time we put up a touchdown in Philadelphia. Another 7-4 win, this time in Philadelphia. I can't believe we actually won a matinee game. Thank God. I was super afraid of it. I didn't feel good about it the whole time. It was an NHL Network game. I had to, go to what seemed like a shady website to get a stream. But it worked, and I have no viruses on my computer. Unless it gave a virus to my keyboard, which that can't be the case because it hasn't been working for a minute. So my setup's a little different if I sound weird today. Philly was coming in on a 5-game heater, too. I think that was the scariest thing. They're a surprise team in the East. They're coming in on a 5-game heater, and the Avs play terrible on Saturday afternoons. But the boys were ready for this one. And they jumped on Philly, scoring 2 in the first, 1 by LOC on, I will admit, a questionable kicking motion, and the other by Mikko Rantanen. Rantanen's 25th goal of the season came off of Nathan MacKinnon's 50th assist. That's pretty damned impressive, y'all. MacKinnon scored in the second, on the second shift of the second. Dr. Seuss called, and he wants all the things back. That made MacKinnon's goal total rise to 25 and made it 3-0 good guys. Philly pulled one back, but LOC finished a beautiful 2-on-1, no doubt, no questionable kicking motion from Miles Wood, who, again, looked fast to make it 4-1. Russ Colton had 2 assists on the first 4 goals. Dude is capitalizing on playing second-line minutes, which we're going to get to in a minute, and playing on the first power play. Philly pulled another one back, but towards the end of the period, MacKinnon did MacKinnon things, scoring his 26th of the season. He looked like he was on a mission the entire game to prove he is one of the best, if not the best player in the world right now. And I know what old McDavid is doing for Edmonton. I get it. I really, really do. But I will tell you the difference is Nate has been doing this all year, and he's not wasting energy. He's not wasting energy pulling his team out of the gutter the way old 97 has been. So, if I got any Oilers fans listening, we can talk all day about who's better, but 29's my guy. He's my ride or die. I even tweeted out at the end of this game, which I'm going to get to in a minute, that he has now tied Joe Sakic, which means he's usurped Peter Forsberg and Patrick Waugh for my all-time favorite Avalanche player. And at the end of the day, I'm probably going to remember 29 a lot more than I'm going to remember 19, even though 19's still doing great things for the franchise. Anywho, start of the third saw things get a little squirrely. Philly cut the lead to 5-4. But with less than 8 minutes left, the Avs slammed the door closed. Mikko scored his 26th of the season. This one, a power play variety goal. And then MacKinnon made, I'm not kidding, the classiest play I've ever seen in real life in a game I was watching. Philly had pulled their goalie. Mac intercepted the puck in the neutral zone. Show plug. Check out the neutral zone Tuesdays here on the network. And instead of taking it himself for his own hattie, he slides the puck to his left to LOC so that Logan O'Connor could bag his first career hat trick. So not only in that tweet did I think later I tweeted the one about 29, like MacKinnon being my favorite Avalanche player of all time, but I tweeted right after that goal that MacKinnon deferring to LOC to saying, nah, dude, you've worked really hard for the last 2 years for sure, 3 years. Let's call it 3 years with the cup run, doing whatever the team asks you to do, and you haven't had a hat trick. Here, please have your first hat trick. Let me get my 51st assist. I'd rather you score it. That's MacKinnon doing captain things. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that 29 is the leader of this team. And I have definitely felt that way for the last 2 seasons without Landeskog. And when 29 is done, if he doesn't make it back, even though he is skating again, hallelujah, MacKinnon should get the C. I hemmed and hawed over should it be Mac. This year he's proving it, y'all. MacKinnon should get the C. No one else. MacKinnon currently sits number 1 in the NHL in points. He has 26 goals, tied for 8th in the league, and 51 assists. That's first in the league. He has 77 points, and nobody's better than him. So what did we learn? Well, the Avalanche went 3-2 on this road trip against good teams in the East. And they did this playing with 3.5 lines, realistically, 3.5 lines. Now, earlier in the season, I defended Ryan Johansson a lot. But he has not made good on my defense. Ryjo is now nothing but a, quote, passenger. Jared Bednar's words, not mine. He didn't call Ryjo out personally in the presser after the Boston game, but he has been the only one who is not living up to what the Avalanche are paying him. And I know that Nashville is paying half of his contract, but maybe Ryjo is like Tomas Tatar. Not the right fit. We thought maybe we would have the Val Nichushkin effect with Ryan Johansson. And it turns out we're actually having the Val Nichushkin effect with Jonathan Drouin, Miles Wood, and Ross Colton, which 3 is better than 1 for my money. 2 of those guys at small contracts. And Miles Wood is living up to every dollar that we were paying him. And I said I wanted to see what Miles Wood would give me. And I am so thankful that we have Miles Wood on our team. Him and his missing teeth. 5 years ago, I think maybe Ryan Johansson is the answer at 2C. But not right now. And think about this. This is why I call it 3.5. It really should be 3 lines. Because Ryder's a passenger, but the Avs are still missing Arturi Lehkonen, who traveled with the team and skated a lot, but did not play. Or I should say, hasn't played. No, he did not play on the road trip. Sorry, I get the Nuggets road trip that they're on right now and the Avalanche road trip that they just finished confused because they literally played in almost the same cities. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Lehkonen hasn't played in a while, even though he traveled. And Nichushkin is still in the Players' Assistance Program. Those are your wingers on your second line. So you've got a center. The guy who's supposed to be your 2C isn't down to clown, and your 2 wingers are gone. I mean, that equals no second line. Y'all, the Roaring 20s, as they are being called now. Shout out to Mark Rycroft on the Altitude broadcast for coining that, because he's the first person I heard say that, and now everybody's saying it, including the NHL Network guys were saying it. But the Roaring 20s line, because they're not really a third line, of Colton, Wood, and LOC is playing second line minutes. They've had to. And they've had to because they're producing, or they're producing because they had to, because they're playing good minutes. Chicken or the egg, whatever you want. Man, but if we could get a 2C and get Val and Lecky back, that Roaring 20s line can go back to playing against third lines or getting matchups and get back to being the best third line in the NHL. And a third line that will be an absolute boon in the playoffs, because I trust every single one of those guys. You're telling me the Avs would have a top 9 that people could trust? That doesn't happen on regular teams, y'all. That didn't happen in the 22 Cup run. I didn't have 9 forwards I could trust that year. 6? Yeah, 6. I could trust 6 for sure. Not 9. Nope. Shout out to LOC, who just kicks ass wherever Bedsy puts him. Like, he does. He shows up to work. Maybe it's because he's a DU Pio. I don't know. But dude just likes to play hockey. He likes to work. So shout out to LOC. And listen, I would not be surprised at all if the Avs went big, capital B-I-G, at around the trade deadline to get a 2C. I know money is tight, but hear me out. Avs fans, I hope you're sitting down. I could see a scenario where the Avs move Ryan Johansson, Prosvetov, and Bo Byram. Yes, Bo and Byram, to get a big name 2C. I know the Avs don't like to do rentals, but your cup window is now. Shout outs to AJ over at the DNVR Avalanche podcast, who has repeatedly over the last 2 weeks reminded us that the Avalanche window is open now. And if they need to make a move to get somebody to win this year's cup, great. What I don't want is, I don't want to see players like Wood and Colton and Drouin end up like Teemu Selanne and Paul Kariya and Jerome McGinley, who are the best players that the Avalanche had, to never win a cup with them. They had teams with those 3 on it that should have dominated, and they did dominate in the regular season, but they couldn't put it together because they didn't have 9 deep. They had 6 deep. That was it. I think Sam Malinsky has proven enough in a small sample size, and he's older. He's actually, I think, older than Bo and Byram, that he can play. And between injuries and penalties, Byram isn't on the ice a lot. So I supported Johansson earlier in the year, and then I started, calling a spade. My dad even called me out on it. He's like, just like you called it, because of Bednar's remarks. He tweeted me the link to Bednar's press conference, and there was Bedsy basically calling out Johansson. Taves did it a couple weeks back when he said, guys think they're playing all right around here, and they're not. But I think it's time to move on. I think it's a Tomas Tatar thing. I think it didn't work out. Oh, I hear Coach calling a timeout. On the other side, let's go campus crawling. You're listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Y'all give 3 and Out a listen on Mondays here on the network. It is playoff season, and gosh darn it, those Chiefs won again. I've never wanted a team to lose so bad in my entire life. That is because
in this house, we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos.
And since those stupid Dallas Cowboys can't even the local team, I don't know who I even want to win the Super Bowl. I guess it's anybody but the Chiefs. Taryn jumping in the chat. Hey, Jen, Ralph, thanks for being in the chat. Taryn, you came on right as I played your drop, my dude. So I'm glad you got back from Austin safe. And you got in just in time to hear your favorite drop. Yes, you did. Yes, you did, brother. I didn't even plan that. I wasn't even looking at chat. But I am glad to have everybody in chat. Don't forget to give us a follow over on X at MileHighMusings _IESR. You can follow me over on X, capital B-I-G, capital A, Yowl, big A Yowl on X. And I also have Threads, Aaron Yowl over on Threads, which I don't get on that much, but I need to. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the network and check out the website. We've got lots of shows repped in chat today. Let's go around the college campuses, y'all, with our campus crawl in segment 2. The Lady Buffs, dang, I don't know if that's demeaning. I don't mean it to be demeaning, but I sure don't mean it in a bad way. That's what they were called when I lived in Denver, so let me try again. Colorado University's women's basketball team came into the week ranked 3rd in the nation. Go Buffs. The Buffs have been unstoppable until Friday. CU lost 76-68 to number 5 UCLA. But then today, Buffs came roaring back and beat number 6 USC 63-59 in Boulder. And even with that loss on Friday, I don't see CU dropping out of the top 10. Yes, they lost to number 5 UCLA, but then they turned around and beat number 6. And I didn't honestly check around them for losses, but you lose to a good ranked team, conference play, and then you beat a good ranked team in conference play. You should be fine. CU men's basketball team had a great week. They beat Oregon 86-70 in Boulder, and then they just Ralphie ran all over Oregon State today, 90-57. I will be sad when CU men's and women's basketball does not play in the Pac-12 anymore because they're probably going to get their asses kicked in the Big 12. They always did. They probably will again. Meh. Let's jump up. Let's take a trip up 25 and talk about CSU. CSU men's basketball, not ranked anymore, dang it anyway. Pulled through against Air Force in overtime on Tuesday, 78-69. Overtime wasn't close. Air Force gave them everything they wanted through regulation, but just overtime was not close. CSU had it in the bag. And then on Friday, the Rams held off UNLV 78-75 in Fort Collins. The Rams traveled to Nevada on Wednesday this week and then up to Laramie to play Wyoming on Saturday. And the CSU women's basketball team extended their win streak to 3 with an 81-67 win Wednesday against Air Force in Fort Collins, but lost to Wyoming in Laramie 67-63 yesterday. Oh, that's right. I saw that. Ohio State did beat Iowa, and there was a whole big deal with Caitlin Clark and a fan getting into it. Thank you, Jen, for that. Jen in the chat calling me out. Number 10 Ohio State beat number 2 Iowa. And I remember seeing as I was doing show prep
something about Caitlin Clark and a fan from Ohio State getting into it, and I didn't have time to read the article, but Jen, thank you for that. So, I think CU's women's is fine. I think they're fine in the top 10. I love that they're in the top 10. I'm here for it. And while we're up north, let's travel back down 25 and east on 34 and talk about the old alma mater, the UNC Bears. Bears men's basketball team picked up 2 wins this week. UNC won 77-75 on Thursday in Greeley over Sacramento State, and then yesterday the Bears just spanked Portland State 90-61 in Greeley. Those 2 wins move UNC to 11-7 on the year. Shout out, boys. Well done. Well done. UNC women's basketball also picked up wins against Sacramento State 72-59 on Thursday, and Portland State 71-54 on Saturday. Those were both road games, obviously. The Bears are now, the Lady Bears are now, the UNC women's basketball team. I don't mean it to be demeaning, y'all. That's just, I'm almost 40. Bears are now 9-7 on the year. Good to see the old alma mater picking up some dubs this week. And finally, let's head back down 25 and get into Denver. And let's take a trip to Magnus Arena. Well, collided on the court postgame. Oh, okay. It did not appear intentional. Okay, that's what it was. Thank you, Jen. Jen in the chat said, yes, Caitlin Clark and a fan collided on the court because you know Ohio State stormed that court. Postgame, saw the video. Jen said she saw the video and it didn't appear intentional. Somebody will make a meal out of it, Jen. I'm not going to. Maybe you can on your show. Jen, do me a favor. Put in chat when your show is because you're in chat constantly and I want to plug your show. So, Jen, put in chat when your show is. I'd like to plug it. Maybe you can talk about that game. Hello. So let's take a visit to Magnus, even though the Piles weren't there. The 5th-ranked DU Pioneers hockey team swept number 19 Omaha this weekend, 6-3 on Friday and 6-2 on Saturday. A good point to note here. This is something that I've skipped over in my last couple college crawls or campus crawls, but DU's head coach, David Carl, was the coach of the USA gold medal winning World Juniors champions this past December. It would not surprise me if he got a look from an NHL team. Jen, thank you. Y'all check out Jen and her show Tuesdays at 6, talking about all things good in Cleveland. I know that's right. 6 Eastern. That's 4 o'clock Mountain for us mountain folk, or 5 o'clock Central for us transplants who now live in the Central time zone. So we got a timeout on the field. I hear it. On the other side, let's talk about those world champion Denver Nuggets. You're listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
Y'all give the Buffalo Huddle a follow, a listen. Tuesdays at 7 Eastern, right after Jen's show at 6 Eastern, here on the network. You're back with me, Aaron Yowell, and Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And Larry B has entered the chat. My man Larry B, just in time for me to talk about my Denver Nuggets. Holla at you, boy. Now, I had planned my drops during tonight's game. I wanted to put Patty in there because I really wanted the Buffalo Bills to win. A, I like Josh Allen. B, we all know that there are only 4 teams I cannot stand. One of them is simply a division thing. And they played tonight. So, anyways, let's get into it. Segment 3 tonight here on Mile High Musings, here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's talk Nuggies, and these two felt different. Nuggets had 2 very tough tests this week, y'all. And on the road to boot. On Tuesday, in probably the most highly anticipated matchup of the regular season so far, the Nuggets played in Philadelphia, a matchup of the last 2 MVPs with Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic squaring off. Now, the Nuggets did end up losing this one, 126-121, and I will honestly tell you, and I have no great acknowledges great, gang. Joel Embiid was dominant in this one. He outscored Jokic 41-25. But if Jokic had help, if the Robin to his Batman would have showed up, the Nuggets win. This game had playoff atmosphere to it, which I loved. And, I talk about all the time, one loss doesn't make or break a season at this point in the NBA or the NHL season because you're playing 82 games. That's a lot. But this one mattered. It felt different. And yeah, we lost, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, you take moral victories. And in the grand scheme of things, it sucks that we lost, and I wish that Jokic would have smacked Joel Embiid down. But I think it actually was a good test, a good trial for them, because it shows them, it reminded the Nuggets what they did throughout the playoffs last year, and it reminded them what kind of basketball they need to play. It's okay. There was one point in the fourth, Nuggets were up, actually 5 going into the fourth quarter of this one, but at one point they were being outscored 22-9 in the quarter. So it wasn't in the cards for Denver at all. But Denver gets Philly Saturday, 6 days from today, in the Mile High City, in a primetime matchup, and it's going to be awesome. So if playing the leading MVP candidate, yeah, I said it, on the road wasn't tough enough, Denver traveled to Boston to play the NBA's best team by record on Friday night. Yet again, another game with playoff atmosphere. We like this. We like the Nuggets getting tested. You have to like it. Win, lose, or draw, gang. You've got to like your teams getting tested. It shows them what adjustments they need to make, and it shows them who they really are. Jokic had help on Friday this time, though. He and Murray combined for 69 points. Nice. Jamal finished with 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, and Jokic finished with 34, 12, and 9. A good old Sombor double. On the night, his play honored the passing of his former coach, mentor, and friend, Dejan Milovic. Sad. I honestly didn't think Jokic was going to play, but he did, and he balled out. KCP, AG, and P. Watt drew tough assignments all night. They had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in this one. And I said last year that Boston would have given the Nuggets a lot more heat in the NBA Finals. I said it. But I don't know now. Because Tatum was fading away a lot. He flopped a lot. And he's not the killer I thought he was going to be. He doesn't have Mamba mentality. Yeah, he was so young. And it was sad, Jen, because Dejan is not that much older than me. And it kind of woke me up. I was actually just talking to my wife about some of that stuff before we went live here. But I think AG, KCP, and P. Watt handled the defensive assignments fantastically. And I feel like Piwat's going to, right now, he's a 7th guy off the bench in the playoffs if he can keep his current run of play going. So, I don't know. Key takeaway from both games is that Coach Michael Malone shortened his bench. Malone went to more of a quote-unquote playoff rotation, playing only 7 guys more than 20 minutes against Boston and 6 guys more than 20 minutes against Philly. Christian Brown played 18, but was not great in the Philly game, so Malone yanked his leash, put him back in the house. Today, Nuggets had an early game. The Nuggets played in our nation's capital against the lowly Wizards. Y'all, the Wizards are bad. They're bad. The 113-104 final makes the game seem closer than it was, but it wasn't. Nuggets would balloon it up to 19, and Washington would come crawling back and get it to like 9, and the Nuggets balloon it up to 16. So it was a yo-yo game, but the Nuggets didn't play with their food in this one. They didn't. Jokic had 26 by halftime. 26. My girls were in the bath. I was kind of watching the game on my phone, and I knew. Just Jokic had that killer instinct. He had 34 against Boston, and he finished with a new season high 42 points in this one. Grabbed 12 boards, slung 8 assists. Starters once again showed why they are the best starting unit, fight me, in the NBA. Every starter finished with 10 or more points. 11 points, 10 boards, 3 blocks from AG. 19 points, 6 boards, 2 blocks from Mike. 19.7 assists from Jamal. And then 10 points, and of course, lockdown defense from KCP. Let's see. Chat says, Taryn, Mamba mentality, miss Kobe Bryant every day. I do too. And I remember when Kobe was in his prime and LeBron was coming in. Was I coaching? Was I even coaching yet? I don't even know if I was at it. Well, I wasn't out of college yet. You know, I've been a basketball head all my life. It's my thing. And people were asking me, who do I want? Who do I want to start? Who would I start a team with? LeBron or Kobe? Give me Kobe all day, every day. All day, every day. The Lizards. They are the Lizards because there is no W in the front of that. I'm getting to it. Dang it, Jen. That was so good. But yeah, I thought Kobe was so good. I thought he did such great things for the NBA. It was so sad. And then Leslie Jen said Dejan was the same age as her husband. Super sad. Jen says her and Mike call the Wizards the Lizards because there ain't no dub in that. It's nothing but L's. You right. I will tell you the Nuggets bench only conjured up 12 points in this one, but the minutes were limited because the starters were rolling. And there's one thing to like rest your guys, but also if your big dogs are eating, don't take them away from the food. Reggie and CB both played 21 minutes. P. Watt played 13, but they were impactful. And Brendan Vogt from the DNVR Nuggets podcast said it best after the Boston game. We're watching Peyton Watson grow up before our eyes. He's 100% right about that, and Watson better keep growing up because we're going to need him during the playoffs. Just look at the West, man. Look who we could get. We're going to need P. Watt's length alone against Phoenix, the Clippers, OKC, Minnesota. Can Minnesota keep this up? I don't know. It's like Vancouver in the NHL. Vancouver and Winnipeg in the NHL. I don't know if they can keep it up. The Nuggets and the Avs both have played more games than anybody in their respective leagues. I don't know. I don't know if OKC can keep it up either because they're young, and I don't know if they especially as the season winds down and we get closer to playoffs. If they make the playoffs, if they get the Nuggets in a 7-game series, Nuggets will probably spank them because the Nuggets have been to the mountaintop, and all those kids haven't. Now, don't get me wrong, OKC's good, Minnesota's good, and they're balling out. They're playing fantastic basketball, and I said it a million times on this show. Minnesota was our toughest series last year, but can they do it? Minnesota scares the daylights out of me. But I don't know. We're going to need Peyton Watson's length. Again, tonight, Nuggies win 113-104. Let's get some takeaways from the week. I feel like the Nuggets and the Avalanche played the exact same schedule. They didn't. But I feel like they played the exact same teams. It's not entirely true, but the Avs played Philly and Boston both on the road. And yes, the Nuggets played at Washington today, but the Avs host the Capitals on Wednesday. It was really hard to keep track, honestly, of who was playing who, when, what, where, and how. So the Nuggets, with them going their probable playoff rotation, I feel like we saw the door of opportunity close in Denver on Zeke Naji. I feel like it's essentially done. I feel like he's going to be a trade piece. because we're going to need something. But I think we're going to need to make one move at and around the deadline, and Zeke Naji he'll be part of it. And I will honestly tell you that one of the dudes I defend all the way to death has not made progress from last year, and that's Christian Brown. I feel like CB has made no progress from last year's version of the player that he was. And as a young man who has won at every level, I thought he'd play with a little bit more dog in him, and that his offensive game would take off. Not yet. And maybe Malone shortening his leash in Philly will inspire the former Jayhawk to turn it up, because we're going to need him, y'all. We're definitely going to need him in April, May, and June, because he did it. He did it last year. P-Watt didn't, but CB did. Y'all, after the Philly game, Jokic went ahead and put up 34 and 42, respectively. Don't think for 1 second that he didn't take that L and getting outplayed in Philly personally. He will be ready for the rematch on Saturday. And he has proved it in the last 2 games. Y'all, I'm tapping my head. I need to sub. Let's take a break, and when I get back in the game, let's talk about America's pastime. You're listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
Check out Our Bleepin' City Wednesdays. I can't even read words. Our Bleepin' City Wednesdays at 7 Eastern here on the network. Thanks again to Taryn, Ralph, Jen, Larry B for being in the chat. We've had a super active chat today, and it has helped both with the energy and the knowledge. So instead of doing crunch time for segment 4, I actually wrote a little rhetorical musings as we wrap up episode 25. I want to thank everybody again for listening, for tuning in. If you tuned in live after watching that football game, I appreciate you. You definitely could have gone to bed or done literally anything else, and maybe you're listening to the sultry baritone getting ready. But with that, I bring you segment 4. No analysis, no stats, just a little Mile High musings, if you will. So it happens every year. The calendar turns over, and not long after, I start to yearn for baseball. Maybe growing up in a cold weather climate made me long for baseball because baseball season means summer. The excitement only intensifies when pitchers and catchers report, and while it's hard for me to keep track of which players on the Rockies squad or major league players or which guys are headed to Albuquerque, I still get excited. Those rosters start to take form. I can close my eyes and vividly picture my days as a kid, first at Old Mile High Stadium, watching Andre Scalaraga, Eric Young, and Dante Bichette. I remember a wall, windows, plastic, fiberglass, whatever you want to call it, wall around the outfield. I remember Bobby Bonilla, when he played for the Mets, blasting one past my dad's ear in the south stands. And then we moved. Not we, but the Rockies. My grandparents had season tickets when Coors Field opened at 20th and Blake
which opened on my 11th birthday, so maybe another reason why I get excited for the beginning of baseball season. Maybe not so much this year with it being the big 4-0, but that year, 1995, and every year around my birthday, my grandparents would take me to a game. And the birthday baseball game became such a staple of my year that to this day, almost 30 years later, one of my favorite birthday gifts is honestly one I buy myself, and that's not trying to be rude. But it's my self-bought birthday baseball cap. And almost always, without a doubt, it's a Rockies cap. I can remember youth group attending games together, sitting in the rock pile because you could get day game tickets for $1. But all of these memories rarely happen after June. Sure, there was that wild ride with Todd and the Toddlers in 2007 when the Rockies pulled off one of the greatest end-of-season and playoff runs in the history of the sport, only to be swept by the machine that was the Boston Red Sox in our one and only World Series appearance. But why? Why do I get burnt out? Is it because, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, the MLB season is incredibly long, and being invested, even slightly emotionally invested in every game seems meaningless? Heck, I even muse on this show about how NHL and NBA seasons are long and how one game doesn't make or break a year, especially before the All-Star break. Is it because I'm a Rockies fan? Is it because the team played its very first game when I was a child and I don't appreciate the game of baseball and the history because my team, the team that I can't quit even though they suck, played its first game when I was in the 3rd grade, and I remember my elementary school stopping the world and rolling out the old TVs on a cart in every classroom. I remember sitting, I was probably in the back because I'm a giant, but I remember sitting in Mrs. Harm's 3rd grade class, and she rolled out the TV, turned off the lights, and there we were playing our very first game against the New York Mets. Is it because I didn't play baseball growing up? See previous comment about being a giant. I mean, I have a massive appreciation for what those players can do. Shoot, to throw a little ball 100 miles per hour is something to behold, and even in the rarefied air, smashing that little rubber core wound in string covered in cowhide over 400 feet is something I could never do. Do I not know how to enjoy the game? As I get older and long for things to be just a little slower, when I know they are about to start moving at the speed of light, shouldn't I like baseball more? For longer? Any way you slice it. This week I was driving up the Dallas North Toll, listening to a Rockies podcast, getting excited about baseball season. And I had to ask myself, could it be the cold? Because it was extra cold. But maybe, just maybe, this year will be the year that baseball lasts longer in my heart. And with these rhetorical musings, I am signing off from the top of the mountain. Thank you so much, everybody, for being in chat. I hope you had a great week, and I hope you have a great week. Stay safe, stay warm. This is your boy, Aaron Yowell from Mile High Musings, signing off with a big old fat Mile High salute saying, stay good, sports fans.